The Morning Majority on 630.
WMAL.
8:07 on the Morning Majority. Good Friday to you here in the nation's capital. Brian Neiman, Byron York from the Washington Examiner. Pleased to be joined now by the Mayor of the District of Columbia, Vincent Gray. Mr. Mayor, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. It's been a busy week for you. Something happened earlier this week. You were arrested. How did that all go down? And did you think you made your point with the arrest?
Well, I think the point was made, but I think the bigger question is, will it result in a change? And, being perfectly candid, one incident of 41 people being arrested is not going to lead to the kind of change that we seek. And fundamentally, that is the District of Columbia being able to have the final authority to approve how we spend our money in the District of Columbia, rather than having to send the budget up to the Congress asking for permission to spend our own money.
Do you feel obviously there's always been issues with Republicans, but the Democrats in this budget deal, they gave up concessions, and part of the concessions was what D.C. could do and can't do when it comes to abortion, when it comes to school vouchers. Do you feel like you were thrown under the bus by the Democratic Party here?
Well, we certainly feel like we weren't supported. And again, it's pretty clear that these are decisions, at least from our perspective, these are decisions that should have been made by the people of the District of Columbia. These are things that would not have been done anywhere else in America, but for the district being subject to this kind of approval authority. Again, we were told that we can't spend our own money on elective abortions for low-income women. And again, the question is not the issue of whether one is pro-choice or pro-life. It's where the decision-making authority ought to rest, and that should be with the people. And then with the vouchers, that too is an issue that should be decided by the people of the District of Columbia, whether we want to have the option to use public dollars to send children to private schools to be educated.
Mayor Gray, this is Byron York here. I want to get your comments on this Washington Post editorial. Came out yesterday. Headline: Mayor Gray's flip-flop on D.C. school vouchers. Said that you persist in trying to link the continuation of the voucher program with Congress's interference with how the city spends its tax dollars. It says, never mind that the program's genesis in 2003 came from local leaders, or that the vouchers were embraced by city leaders. Indeed, Mr. Gray himself, as council chairman, made a journey to the Capitol Hill in 2008 to testify in support of continued federal funding for vouchers.
Well, I have explained that a number of times, and what I supported was not taking kids out of the program who already were in it, and that is exactly the way the program is operating now. There were no new kids to be admitted to the program, and that is the way it's operating now. What I supported I thought was a humane approach, and that is those children who already were enrolled in schools where vouchers are being used for them to be able to be educated. I supported, the president supported also, who doesn't support vouchers, keeping those young people in those schools until one of two things happened. They finished school, or their parents and them made the decision to go in another direction. So there's no inconsistency there at all. It was a humane decision on my part and on the part of others, but I did not support and do not support the renewal and the continuation of the program where new students would enter.
But, Mr. Mayor, the editorial also says that this voucher system is funded solely with federal dollars, so it's not the federal government telling the district how to spend its local tax money.
I think this is a question of local decision-making, that the District of Columbia ought to be able to have the decision as to whether we have a program or not. And that was not respected. There was no request of the district, what do you think about this? It was essentially the Congress saying, here's federal money, you're going to accept a voucher program. I wonder if somebody can tell me where else in America that has been done. And I don't think there is an answer to that says yes. Yes, there's someplace else in America where the federal government has said, you will accept this program, whether you want it or not, you will operate this program. And that is essentially what was done here. And frankly, that is a violation of home rule.
But what is your problem with school vouchers? Because there's a study done by the Department of Education that found that almost 90%, maybe even more than 90% of kids on those vouchers graduated high school. I mean, that's a pretty great success rate. So why would you be against school vouchers giving kids the chance to, get an education in a private school where they're going to graduate?
I first of all think that there's a lot of choice in the District of Columbia. We have perhaps the most robust charter movement in the nation. We have 52 charter schools on 93 campuses where parents can make choices. Those are programs that are operated with public dollars in the District of Columbia. We have a public education system, traditional public education system, that is improving. It's 123 schools that we operate in that fashion. And frankly, a lot of the schools that receive vouchers are schools that operate, with religious principles. They can pick and choose who they wish, which is their choice. But I don't think that some of the bases on which some of our religious schools choose or reject students, on which they hire people or don't hire people, on which they accord benefits or don't accord benefits, should be permissible with public dollars.
But if these parents are putting their kids in this pool and they want their kids to have the chance to go to a private school, whether it's a Catholic school or some other type of religious school, shouldn't you want your constituents to get what they want in this particular case?
I again will underscore the fact that I think we have an enormous amount of choice in the District of Columbia with the charter system. There is no charter movement in the District of Columbia, in the nation, except for the possibility of New Orleans, that has the breadth and depth of our system. These schools are regulated by the District of Columbia. Should they not follow the standards or rules that are established, they are sanctioned. We can't do that with the private schools that are educating our kids.
Mr. Mayor, the underlying belief in all this among Republicans and among some Democrats too is that the district spends an extraordinary amount of money per capita on its public education program and simply doesn't get the results that amount of money should get. I mean, and the vouchers is essentially a way for Republicans to get around that. What do you say to that? You said the school system is improving, but a lot of people are simply not satisfied.
Well, I don't know that we're getting the same results from private schools either. I go back to my fundamental question, and that is, why is this imposed upon the District of Columbia in this way? You cited Republicans as supporting this. Democrats don't support this. It's a political decision that's being made. That political decision is not being made and will not be made anywhere else in America. I wonder if you can cite to me someplace else in America where this approach has been used with some other state or some other locality, and if not, why not?
Well, Mr. Mayor, the Constitution gives the Congress jurisdiction over the District of Columbia, which it can choose to exercise or not, but it's there.
Well, whether it's there or not, it doesn't make it right, not in my opinion. There's 600,000 people who live in the District of Columbia who should have the same rights and privileges as every other American in the other 50 states, and that is to make decisions about how things operate in their jurisdiction. And frankly, what's interesting is some of those who support the voucher program, some of those who support the issue of how the elective abortions are administered, are the very same people who espouse the philosophy that the federal government ought to stay out of the business of state and local jurisdictions. That seems an inconsistency to me.
Now, before we let you go, I do want to ask you about the online poker that is going to be allowed in the District of Columbia, which kind of went under the radar. How is that going to work? Will there be a specific place in the city where people can go and do the online gambling? How is it going to work?
Well, this legislation just became effective within recent days, and I'm not sure all the rules have been worked out. It was a proposal that was approved by the council. It went through the congressional approval process also, which nobody else's legislation has to go through in America. Their local or state legislation has to go through that, but it did go through that and did receive the approval of Congress in this instance. So the rules still have to be worked out.
Are you in favor of online gambling or gambling in the district?
Well, certainly. I was on the council at the time, and I voted in favor of this, and so the answer is yes.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, great to have you on the show. We appreciate